and welcome back to the Corporate Connect. Today, I'm joined by Dianne Francavilla, someone whose energy, insight, and passion for growth are truly inspiring to me. In a world that's often defined by constant hustle and rapid change, Dianne brings a refreshing perspective on the power of rest and also the courage it takes to pivot and reinvent your career. I cannot wait to explore both of these themes with her today. So, Dianne, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like rest and reinvention does not get enough airtime. It feels like a bit of a taboo subject. So I feel like if it was an
Yes.
Olympic sport, I've had medals. So I feel very authorized to speak on this with you today.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. Okay. So, jumping straight into it, I'd love to start with this question. In recent years, we've seen so many professionals burning out, hustling, there's so much going on. Everybody wants to accomplish everything. And it is true for all of us. But how do we rethink what success looks like, according to you?
I think there isn't a simple answer, like a one size fits all answer for everyone, first of all. I can speak on what I've done to kind of reevaluate what success feels like for myself.
Yeah.
And it required going deep on what I actually value. I'm in Toronto. You don't have to look far for a lot of messages, a lot of signals of what status looks like, of what success is. There's a lot of fugazi in Toronto, like a lot of impressions or personas of success. And it's really easy for that to get in your head and for you to start filtering through what you want through the lens of your surroundings. And I, eventually found myself surrounded by colleagues in a workplace that did not align with who I really was. And I had to take a really hard look at that and start thinking about what I value, what I want my lifestyle to look like, and what is enough for me in terms of success and how to balance that output that you put out in your professional life with the input that you put back in your personal life.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say that you're trying to find that balance, what did you exactly do to
Mhm.
reevaluate or sit down and think about like how do you do this? Or if someone wants to do it, how do they do that?
Yeah.
How is my question?
It's a process, and I think it's still ongoing. I've worked with a lot of different coaches. I have a coach I work with who is based on intuition and like digging
Oh,
into your kind of intuitive knowing and kind of looking into yourself. Her name is Dr. Emily Sadowski. Incredible. I've worked with more traditional career coaches to sort of get at the heart of what is going on, what is causing you distress or a feeling of imbalance. And it just kind of it kind of keeps evolving from there. A big thing that's working for me lately is considering reframing a situation. So when I feel like something's keeping me up at night, or when I feel like, I've signed up for something or I've committed to something, but I know that it's going to deplete me energetically, it becomes a question of balancing like energy management as opposed to task management or time management. It's like a negotiation you go through with yourself, or an understanding of like, I really want to do this, but it means I'm going to have to compromise a couple workouts this week. I'm going to give myself a break. And if I, have to eat a couple takeout meals, it is what it is. Like I just kind of reevaluate the standards that I'm holding myself accountable to in order to have the energy to just kind of get through. And then once that commitment or whatever is over, then you kind of like recalibrate, which is kind of goes against this idea of doing it all or being very
yeah.
regimented or being very, no days off. Like that wasn't working for me. And I'm finding
Mhm.
that when I just kind of readjust the intensity or decide this is going to get the best of me, these things are just not going to get the best of me this week.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great approach. I feel like doing it all doesn't work for most of us in the long run. We just burn out, and that is the hard reality,
Exactly. It's not
right?
sustainable. You can have one day where you feel like you're like a
Sure.
superhero because you did a
Yeah.
5 a.m. boot camp and you're doing this, but it's like, can you show up and do that again tomorrow? What about next week? What about next month? And then you feel like you're failing. And that's so
Yeah.
unfair to yourself to put yourself through this, this tyranny of the appearance of success rather than
Totally.
putting in the energy things that you really feel are important to you.
Totally. Oh my God, I agree 100%. I feel like, okay, there are some of us who are able to afford coaches, who have the means to be able to afford coaches. There are some of us who cannot, are absolutely not able to, even if they try, they're not able to. So we're different kinds of people, of course, here. But your activity and exercise on energy management, I think it's a great way for people to rethink or reevaluate their shifting priorities. And this happens on a daily basis, right? Or it can happen on a weekly basis or monthly basis, whatever cadence works for people,
Hourly
correct?
sometimes,
Ah,
depending
I
on
love that.
where you're at. Yeah.
I love that. But the next question that I have for you is from your own experience, what do you think we often get wrong about rest
Mm.
and productivity?
Well, I think it's really easy to feel like when you're resting, you're failing or you're not. You're like, if you tightly equate your value or tie your value to your productivity, then resting feels, well, it can't not feel like a failure. So I feel like that's something we get wrong about it. Um, it I'm learning that like rest is actually helpful for your output. So if you are output
Okay.
oriented or you are productivity oriented, it's like you have to learn how to take breaks, or you have to learn, like I said, to decide which projects or commitments are going to get the best energy in order to to feel any sense of success or achievement. So this idea that like you can do it all or you can have it all and you just need to hustle harder, or you're just not disciplined enough, or you're not eating the perfect foods, or this, or you, like to your point, you don't have the resources to be able to be amazing. Like these are all not helpful um, narratives about what success is. So like scaling it all back, getting honest with what really matters to you, and just working with what you've got. I wasn't always working with coaches, or I wasn't always in a place where I had that
Hmm.
extra resources. I would go for a walk. I would, try to roll out a yoga mat that I bought at Dollarama and try to stretch
Yeah.
out and find a video on YouTube. Like if you kind of just work with where you're at, you can start to make steps forward.
Wow. I love the point that you made around you can work with what you have. And that is very, very important for everybody or all of us to understand. I feel like sometimes a lot of times this used to happen to me a lot. I used to be this kind of person who's like all the time hustling. And fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know what do I call it, but there were people around my environment who were like, wow, like, oh my God, Sandhu, this is great. You should do this. Like, you're doing like so much and all of that, which is okay. And I used to feel really nice about myself that, okay, I'm able to accomplish this. But there came a point where I actually burnt out. And not even that, I think just to sit for 1 hour and watch Netflix, I used to feel guilty. And that used to make me feel, oh my God, like, and when I realized that I'm feeling guilty about just sitting and watching Netflix, that's not good. That's not good. I need that break. Like, I really need that break. So, yeah,
And I
to your
think a
point.
lot of people relate. Like once it's fused with your identity, like I am the kind of person who, I'm a person who, when you don't do those things, you feel there's a loss of sense of self, right? But it's like that's not your true self. It's not. It's a capitalist agenda that is running rent free in your mind, telling you that you always need to push harder, you always need to be proving a return on your energy, looking for results instantly, as fast as possible, faster next time.
But
That is a
yeah,
horrible way to live. But it's very hard to undo that thinking, or to even
yeah,
notice it, or to even start to see where there are gaps where you can get a little breath in, or you can get a little rest in. It's not easy.
it's not easy. And it takes a lot of practice, I feel, to be able to get into that rhythm of understanding that, okay, this is the time that you need to think about, okay, rest is also important. Refuel yourself, refuel that cup, and then use it again
Yeah.
before like filling it out, emptying it.
And what might surprise you is like, I have realized that my 100% is actually off the charts. What I think is giving 100%. So if I just let myself give 70%, no one will notice. Everyone still thinks I'm giving 100%. It's my ridiculous standards. It's my habitual self competition with myself, beating my last record on anything, like this
Yeah.
was pervasive. This was like, how healthy can I eat? How much can I work out? How much can I, excel at work? Like it's running your life. And if you
Yeah.
just give yourself permission, you might be surprised at like your 70, maybe even 60%, maybe your C plus, being a straight A student, let yourself get a C on something and see how it
Mhm.
goes. And it's probably fine. And the
Yeah.
sun's gonna rise tomorrow and life goes on. It's a game changer. It really is.
Wow. That's very powerful. Thinking about that 70% versus the 100%. It's
Yeah.
really powerful.
And what it affords you is that there's still a 30% reserve for the when you do want to turn up the speed, you still have gas in the tank. You can still show up and do that extra thing for whatever it is. For the
Yeah.
unforeseen things that show up, for a sick friend that needs you to do something, you no longer are working from a place where you feel so depleted. You
Yeah.
can show up for your life with more vigor, or more rigor, whatever
Yeah.
the word is.
Wow. Wow. Such a powerful advice. Okay. So this is a great segue into how do you personally set boundaries or create
Mm,
that rhythm that allows space for rest without feeling guilty? Like, what is
yeah.
that actionable thing that you do?
It's so cliche, but like I have noticed that at night, like giving yourself a minute to just download the day, as it were, or like let the day kind of go.
Okay.
It used to be a real problem that like I'd go to sleep and halfway through the night, I would wake up feeling like I slept a full night, and it would be like 2 a.m. And that would be a painful experience of trying to like get yourself back asleep because it's way too early. It's the middle of the night. You shouldn't really stay up. But if something was really bothering me, sometimes I would just let myself start working in the middle of the night.
Oh
Um,
my God. Really?
yeah. So like that's a horrible thing to like
Yeah.
let yourself get into. So now I think it was one of the coaches I worked with suggested that at night, just write out a list of the things that are stressing you out the most, or the things that are on your mind the most, or just the things that won't let you rest. And just trust that in the morning, it's all there. You can pick it right up. So if there's that
Mhm.
presentation or, a piece of feedback that you need to get back to, or something that is just like on your mind, just like the act of writing it out by hand and just
Hmm.
setting it aside has been super helpful. Um, but to your piece about like rest, I think, like I said, like having a bit of perspective too helps, again, even notice. Like it's one thing to advise on, here's some tactics I do. I'm writing by hand, or
Hmm.
doing this, or I'm trying to, but the struggle, I think, or the step in um, starting to change some of these habits or to find more opportunities to rest guilt free, is to even notice where those breaks even could be. So for me, it's been like Saturday mornings need to be a sacred time. Like I need to not feel like I have a commitment to go grocery shopping or go see my family or do something. I need to have
Hmm.
non doing time from like 9 to 11. And again, I know that like for a lot of people, if you have children or if you have other obligations, like that's really hard to find that time. But wherever you can, maybe for you, it's like in the evening, but like an uninterrupted window of time. Maybe it's not 2 hours, maybe it's 15 minutes, but the permission, I guess, to just turn your brain off and to not have to do any output.
Hmm.
Sometimes like that's all you need is just kind of like a little quick like reset.
Yeah.
um, but again, like the perspective of like realizing that when I write things down like that and I look at them, I I usually feel a sense of like disconnection and be like, okay, like what am I actually worried about? I'm safe. I know that I can rest my head in a comfortable bed tonight. I know that there's food in the fridge for me tomorrow morning. Like it kind of creates a sense of just, again, recalibrating, kind of finding areas to be grateful for the challenges that I'm facing, like within
Hmm.
the circumstances on the whole, I think I'm pretty lucky. And so even though those stresses are very real and it's not about like spiritual bypassing or just kind of being
Yeah.
like, "Mm, it's not a big deal. I'm actually so happy." It's not really that. I still feel stressed. I'm still concerned. There's still real realities that I need to deal with in the morning, but it's not like inside of my physical person. It's now out on a piece of paper. and I can let myself rest and trust that I will be accountable to what I need to face in the morning.
Amazing. Thank you. That is powerful, and a good piece of advice for people who are trying to maintain or understand this topic from a more broad or from a more deeper perspective. Moving little bit away from this topic now, we would love for our listeners to learn about your background, your corporate background. What is your background? What do you do? And for people who are working in the same space, what advice would you have to
Mhm.
build their career and grow in that
Yeah.
space?
So I have zigzagged across many different roles, many different industries. I started in theater. I started as a performer in theater and film, as an actor and singer. I worked obviously in hospitality. I say obviously because many artists keep, a parallel career in hospitality and events. I worked in restaurants. I worked in special events all over Toronto. Still do sometimes. I still kind of keep a foot in the events and entertainment
Yeah.
space. I was a trainer. I worked in fitness and health for a while. That was also very eye opening in terms of learning how to take care of my body, learning how to, um, manage the things that life throws at you sometimes. And over time, I navigated into marketing and advertising. I work in an ad agency now, and I have worked in the advertising space for the last few years. Um, for anyone working in that space or wanting to work in that space, I mean, I consider that I'm still quite junior, given that I've moved around so much. I've not yet established myself as like a seasoned professional in any one area. But what's interesting about coming into, kind of like I say, zigzagging is you bring a certain maturity or you do things different. I often say it's about the how you do what you do, not the what
Hmm.
that you're doing.
Yeah.
So, as I continue to kind of work my way through and develop more experience in the advertising space, I think everything we're talking about would be the biggest piece of advice or a
Yeah.
takeaway that I would recommend. It moves fast. Advertising never sleeps. Clients
Yeah.
can be demanding, and rightfully so. It's an attention economy out there, and it's
Yeah.
it's not an easy game to be showing up for. It kind of drains you creatively, and like it's left and right brain firing logically and
Yeah.
creatively all the time. But that's what's really exciting about it too. I think that's why this industry attracts so many people.
Yeah.
And I also kind of remind myself, like, what is the through line of why I want to be here, and letting that kind of guide um, my energy, I guess. Like remembering
Mm.
uh, there's a through line in my career about connection and storytelling and experiences.
Mm.
And when I remember that, it's kind of that North Star mentality of like, all right, I know why I show up to do the work that I do. I feel that how I do it is valuable, and that's about it. It's not about outperforming or proving or showing off in any way, or it's just about kind of sitting in your space of competency and growing from
Mm.
there.
Okay. I am very intrigued by this question. I think I've had this question for all my marketing friends. This is a space that demands so much creativity, right?
Mhm.
How do you maintain that balance across? I mean, of course, I've seen you personally, like you have the energy level that you have, like it's amazing. And it's like, okay, you have creative ideas flowing so much. How do you maintain that creativity? Like, how do you
Mhm.
maintain that level of creativity across different clients, different projects, how does
Yeah,
that happen? It's a little different from the topic that we're supposed to discuss, but
I love
I'm
it.
just intrigued.
Yeah. I mean, so I work as an account manager. So my role at the ad agency is not like my deliverables are not necessarily creative in
Oh,
that I'm
okay.
not writing the copy, I'm not designing, I'm not the graphic designer. But there is a certain creativity that comes with, um, how you manage relationships, how you
Yeah.
can, gain the trust of a client, a CMO or a senior marketing person who thinks in a very data driven, very linear type of way, typically.
Yeah.
But then, build a relationship with them and be that middle person that can relay their feedback in a style that a creative team full of, photographers, directors, true creative people by craft,
Yeah.
can kind of all come together and speak the same language. So that
Mm.
I find is like where my unique creativity kind of comes out. And because I also have, my own craft outside of work, like I also, I was a songwriter. I still kind of enjoy creative writing sometimes. I started this, it looks like I'm sitting in a closet because I started a vintage and thrift project recently. And I, pop up and sell clothes sometimes and enjoy really connecting and kind of offering creative insights that way with people. I find that because my work is not necessarily about creative deliverables in my own time, I feel even more creative, like even more able to take that dance class or, help
Yeah.
out with a film or be on the board of directors for a nonprofit dance company. Like I still have creative energy to give because I
Yeah.
haven't tried to earn my bread, my daily bread from that same space. There's a little bit of
Wow.
separation.
Yeah.
And again, it's like I feel like this doesn't get enough airtime. We get told a lot of like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your
Yeah.
life. You have a talent. Did you know that you can make money on that? Like, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm very multifaceted. I'm going to choose to earn my income with 5% of my talents way over here. And now I've got 95% of my essence and my creative curiosities and style and stuff to go do something else. I'm not sure that everyone is as multifaceted. I think for some people it's a little more simple. The equation is
Oh,
like, well,
yeah.
I never thought about doing anything else, right? But I think we're starting to kind of wake up and tune into all our different interests, partially by necessity. If you're
Yeah.
if you're laid off and you need to explore other interests, you might find that like you finally have a chance to do ceramics and you're thinking about doing your ceramic business, right? So that's going to present challenges too. And like maybe that means that you like, do you really want to run a shop online or do you want to have that other work and just do your ceramics, for
Yeah.
instance, as a
Yeah.
hobby? Like hobbies
Yeah.
are great. They're great for your mental health. They're great for social circles. And we're losing them because we think that
Yeah.
everything needs to have
Totally.
a measurable result.
Oh my God, you just read my mind. This is what happens with me so many times, and it took me years to accept the fact that I am multifaceted. And it is true for me, and this is how it is. Like, I remember like 15 years ago, no, not 15, 10 years ago, I used to be like, I had just started learning Kathak, which is an Indian classical dance form. It had been just for 3, 4 years since I was learning, and at 4 years of learning, I was like, done. This is what I want to do in my life. Great, awesome. But at that point in time and where I was, it wasn't paying that well. And there was this money factor involved in my life as well, that I had to make sure that I'm earning enough to be able to sustain the lifestyle that I wanted for myself. And that's when I realized that, okay, it's okay. Like, it's okay to have separate identities where you're using some of your talent in a certain part of your life and the other part is being used by the other talent. And then, but I did not accept that for the longest time. Then I worked with a coach, and she's also like, she had interviewed for this podcast, and her episode was the first one that got launched. And she was the one who told me that, you know what, all the aspects in your life, no matter what it is, it cannot fulfill 100% of what you want in your life. Everything contributes to making you Sindhu your whole life. And it just like it blew my mind. I'm like, and she's like, think about what purpose is everything in your life solving? What purpose is your job solving? What purpose is your dance solving? What purpose are your friends, family, husband, parent, sister? Think about all of that in your life, and that makes a whole life. And so it's okay to have multiple things running in your life, and you don't have to depend on one thing to give you happiness. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
now it makes sense. And now that you say it, Diane, it just like validates things all the more for
Oh
me.
yeah. And we could talk all day, all only about
Yeah.
that, because I think within that, and everything you said is so bang on. I love that you are also kind of exploring this new way of finding a whole life,
Yeah.
and what you need, and what that division, what that split needs to be for you. I think we all need to be asking that, because I think what makes that so hard is it's a heartbreaking question to realize, like, the risk involved in being a full-time actor,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not, or the lifestyle involved in keeping my calendar constantly open, that, and I'm going to just audition as much as possible, and I'll be completely available to, you know, be ready for a show whenever someone wants to cast
Yeah.
me. After a decade, that was not working for me anymore. And I,
Absolutely.
fortunately or unfortunately, I never kind of reached a place in my career where it was steady. Like, there was,
Mm.
it just felt like I was in a casino, like completely
Wow.
gambling, risking left, right, and center. And that's a deeply uncomfortable thing to not, you know, be able to feel like um, your efforts are being recognized. Not
Mm.
a lot of people can hack that, you know? So
Yeah.
I think, especially when we talk about the arts, it's so important to just have an honest conversation
Yeah.
with yourself about, like, what do you want your lifestyle to look like? You know, there's nothing wrong with wanting to steadily pay your rent every month and
Yeah.
you know, a predictable income, which is getting harder and harder to do.
It
Even
is. It
in
is
traditional,
very true.
but again, like, that's where I think more and more people are starting to explore, like, multifaceted careers, where it's not
Yeah.
about quitting or saying I don't do this anymore, or I failed, I couldn't hack it, I couldn't make it, I wasn't talented enough, couldn't sell enough music. Like, it's not that division. It's like, you know, what are the realities that I need to um, acknowledge
Acknowledge.
in
Yeah.
order
Exactly.
to feel okay?
It's
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
It's heavy. It's
Yeah.
heavy.
Oh my God. Totally. And it's so like it could vary from people. So some people are okay and they're okay. They're comfortable. They may or may not have the means, but they might still be okay to wait out and see how it goes in the long run. Some for me, it's certain things were important in my life, so I made sure that I'm okay. I am exploring things. But what is important is to assess what you really want and accordingly act. I love this. And I think this is a good switch. I think our experience is a good switch into our next topic of career switching. And so you shared that you have like you've gone through different careers in your life, right? So and so career pivots have becoming the norm. It's become people are understanding the importance of it and that the fact that it's okay, whether due to choice or circumstances. But when considering a career pivot, what questions should people ask themselves before making the leap?
Mm. Ooh. Um, I mean, again, kind of cliche, but valuable. Are you running towards something, or are you running away from something? I think is a
Mhm.
good question to ask. You know, do you just not like the work you're doing, and therefore you're like, I'll do anything else, I just want to escape this? Or is there something that you're really curious about and you're like, no, I've been like interested in this. You've been maybe dabbling on weekends or in your own time, like there's something that you want to go deeper on, making that distinction. um and then having a plan for what that looks like. Again, like, finances are always a thing, and many people will be like, well, I'd love to quit my job, but, you know, I have debt, or I can't. And it's like, if eventually, like, you'll need to, like, figure out what that means for you. Like if there's something that you really want to switch over to, you, I get it. Like, the barriers are real. The you know, obligations or things stopping you from being able to feel free or being able to just reinvent, um, are very real. But there are ways, again, like we said, to kind of start to incorporate some of that into your life in
Yeah.
from this start with where you're at place. Like, you know, maybe you used to do ballet and you let that go and now you work in something completely different. Like, can you just start with remembering some of your bar exercises at home in your kitchen, and, like, just have that be part of your life? I still sing in the shower because it
Yeah.
feels good, you know? makes me feel happy, and I don't feel sorry for myself of like, oh, but I used to sing, and I could have been something. Like, you got to really watch out with the stories you're telling yourself, and just let yourself, you know, allow allow yourself to have these things that you want, these things, these hobbies, these curiosities, these new things, just to exist in your life in whatever way is accessible right now. But
Yeah.
when you can plan, I thankfully I had, banked up a bit of savings, and when I found myself in a place that I was not happy with, I, had a conversation with my husband about quitting, and I was able to walk away from a role that wasn't serving me and take some time to just figure things out. But
Yeah.
I just, that's not like advice to be like, you're not happy, quit your job, because maybe it's not the job that's the problem, and maybe the job is actually really essential. And it's
Mhm.
about, creating these new habits to recharge yourself so that you can show up for this challenging work with
Yeah.
more um, energy. It's really tough, and it's so case by
Right.
case. Like, I can't express enough about how if you can't get linked up with a coach, there are resources online. There are friends that might be
Yeah.
listening. Maybe this is helpful. Like, reach out to me. You can find me,
Yes, of
because like
course.
just talking it out and identifying like where what what needs to be affected is usually the first step.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And I can resonate with it so much personally. And I think another one that I would add to that is not count yourself as a victim. A lot of times we end up like believing we have this victimization that we're doing to ourselves that, oh my God, I'm so sorry for myself, kind of victim. You know, that feeling, not do that and really like move forward with intention.
And grieve it. It's okay for that
Yeah.
sadness to come. Like,
Yeah, you're
I've
right. We're
wept,
humans.
yeah, process it, but then let it go. Then it's time to be
Yeah.
like, I don't want to spend my whole life saying I used to be an actress. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, you know what? Like, I take that into how I present, and how I what character I want to play, how I dress. There's different ways to feel creative and explore
I
that
love that.
that artisticness in my life when I'm at the grocery store. you know,
Yeah.
Turns out I don't need to wait on that gig to make me happy.
Yes. Oh my God. I love this. Diane, thank you so much for such an amazing conversation. I feel like this is such an energizing conversation for
Yes.
me. And I'm so happy that I found you and I found this conversation to be so much that I could resonate to, and the experiences I've got through personally as well. So thank you. I would like to close with one last question for you. What's that one lesson from your journey about rest, resilience, or reinvention that you wish more professionals would carry with them in today's world?
I think we've been sold a lie that the way to be successful is to grind yourself into dust. And I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think rest is part of the strategy. Reinvention is power. Doesn't mean you're flaky. Doesn't mean you couldn't commit. When you know in your gut, this is why I'm such a big fan of being in tune with your intuition. When you know that something's wrong for you, you walk away. And that's actually a power move. That's not a failure. And I think the biggest flex is to build a career that doesn't crush your spirit, where you still feel like you have a spark or a life energy going on, both in your work and outside of your work. I think that's the biggest goal, and that might look really different for different people.
Yeah,
Again, the fulfillment doesn't come 100% from being on the right career path. Not for me, anyways. It's come
yeah,
from looking at that whole picture, deciding how much of that um, energy is going to work, and deciding how much energy is reserved for other interests. And that makes me feel like I have a more fulfilled life overall.
oh, this is such a beautiful ending to this episode. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much, Diane,
you.
for being with us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for chatting this morning.
Of course. Thank you. Amazing. So, to our listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Corporate Connect. I hope you could take away a few key learnings from this episode. If you feel this episode is valuable to anyone around you, please do not forget to share it with them. And do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And I will then see you in the next one. Bye for now.